All right, we're gonna do this with the 3D brush, the detail brush, and the B-squared brush. Mine are older, so they used to be gold, so ignore that. We're gonna start with the Bella bronzer, fluffy end. I'm not pressing down hard, I'm just kind of grabbing what's on the surface. I'm gonna put that up on my forehead. It's not a ton, right? You see how it's just like barely kissing. If it's making a big brown hickey looking stripe, that's not what you're going for. So I'm lightly gonna do that, kind of where the sun would hit my face. Basically, kind of mixing where the blush and the contour go, that area of your face. And then the majority of your forehead, I want to bronze. And then if you want, you can even do an even lighter layer, like I'm barely touching this all over, because when a dark color touches your skin first, it's gonna cover texture. So we can just give a really light layer if you would like, but by really light, I mean feather light, okay? Next, I'm not gonna worry about like all the little spots yet. I'll come back and, so my choices are to hit them first and then come back and hit them at the end. You can kind of do that, so you can take your darkest highlight color and whatever small brush you have, and you can, whatever's bothering you, you can touch it. I would prefer using a small brush, but I didn't grab one. We could use a small end of the detail brush. There we go. So I'm gonna take my not my darkest color, not my contour, my darkest highlight color, your main highlight color. And I'm just gonna say, hey, where do I wanna make sure that I get covered? So I'm just gonna look for those most distracting points on my face. And I hit those first. Obviously this will go faster when you're not explaining. I mean, honestly, I don't usually nitpick like that, like I'm doing right now. But if there's something that's bugging you, hit that first, okay? And then for me, this nose, that's what's distracting. So I'm gonna start, I can do the 3D brush. Main shade, did you see that? Just a tap. I'm not pressing, I'm not digging. And I'm gonna hit my nose first, and that way I make sure I can press it in, and then it gets the coverage that I want. Okay, now we're gonna really kind of start our main hack. It doesn't matter the order. I can start with contour, I can start with the main shade. It doesn't matter, we can start with contour. So pick up this detail brush, the contour is drier. Now I'm digging. I'm going, I'm sweeping it to pick it up on this whole thing. It wasn't just a light tap like the other one. You go dark with the dark color, light with the light. I'm gonna start back here, and I'm feeling where my cheekbone is, and I'm coming under it. You need something, Cole? You can make a coffee if you want. All right. Now, I'm gonna come from my forehead forward. I kind of blend as I go, you can see that. And then I have a ton of forehead, so I'm making a triangle, if you can tell, on mine, like this. Because I want to leave a little white spot right there, because that's what, if you see people without makeup, that's what looks natural. That's naturally where the light hits. It should be kind of crazy dark. And you can kind of come up and hug your cheekbone right here and almost make it end like a Nike swoosh. But basically, you're not bringing it past your pupils. I'm ending where my natural one ends. I can feel it under there. And you see how it was darker, and then I just kind of let it taper off. Some people like to do back here. Some people don't. For some people, especially older women, as they get jowls, kind of just a face shape thing, it makes it worse. It accentuates it. So see if that helps you. If not, I mean, so I do use less product here. I kind of wait till it's off of my brush, the stuff from up here, and I just kind of pull the leftovers on here. So I'm kind of cleaning my brush at the same time. Just getting everything else off. There we go. So that's where our contour goes. I switch to a cooler contour for this next step. So you can do your regular contour, but if you have it, I recommend shadow contour. It's great in brows. It's great right here for these natural shadows. So I'm gonna do that under my lip. You can also choose to do it with the small end if you want more control. Now, some people do their top lip as well. I don't have a top lip, so I don't do that. And then we already put a little product on our nose. If you hadn't yet, I would put some down first. And then I'm gonna lightly draw 2 lines down the center of my nose. If your nose is already very narrow, this is not what you wanna do, okay? As far as, you can lightly darken it, but I'm saying don't make them closer together than they are. You could just go, you can even go a little farther apart if it's like a super too narrow nose. in your opinion. But you can still do the nose contour because it's still doing contrast to where our face looks like we have a filter on it. And we're accentuating the angles in our face and the shadows, basically wearing a filter. Okay, so I just drew, and again on this I'm kind of using that feather light touch again, and I want to make sure I don't see it from the sides. I want to see it from the front. And then the rest of nose contouring is personal based on your nose shape, but that's the basic. Okay, next we're gonna go back to our 3D brush and our main highlight shade. Take our main highlight shade. I'm kind of between shades right now, so I do that, tap, tap, one of each, but you're welcome to, but I want you to see barely pressing, not pressing hard. Okay, I'm gonna fill in where a man would have a beard. Press, press, tap, tap, right? It's really more of a tap even than a press. I'm gonna come up to that contour line. That kind of tells me where to stop, so that's one plus of doing that first, tap, tap. So a man could have facial hair here, right? I'm doing his goatee. And now, cut the majority down. See how I kind of had to do, I had to mix two colors to make the perfect match. So some days I'm this one, some days I'm this one, some days I'm between the two. And that's why I like having multiple colors. Okay, there's my beard area. Now, see, I have some redness and discoloration right here. I'm gonna keep going with my main shade, and I'm gonna be easier now though. Less product, stippling, because this area on most people has larger pores. I don't want to put a color there that's too light. So I'm being really careful. Just kind of stippling that on in that area. Okay, now we're gonna flip and we're gonna brighten a little bit. Got a couple options of what you can do that with. You can do it with this small end, with this small end, doesn't really matter. I'm gonna go into my brightening shade. So I've kind of left the under eye alone right now. But I'm gonna brighten around it, and then we'll see how much more we actually need. Because sometimes if you just distract away from the problem, because it's better than slapping too much product right here on the problem to try to cover it up. So I'm good. You see where I'm doing this. Lip, especially if you've got more of a lip than I do, makes a big help. I'm gonna go between those two lines that we did earlier, and then I kind of draw a little button nose on there. And then right here, I'm using the shade Sunlit. Looks scary in yellow, but when you blend it out, it looks really nice. So I've got my palm tree going there. See that palm tree? And then I'm brush brightened around my eyes. Now I'm gonna take my big fluffy brush, but the small end of it. This is called the blush bronzer brush. And I kind of blend that in. Did you see when I did this, I lifted it up? This helps us keep our, fighting gravity basically. Just blending that in lightly. And now I can kind of see like how much of that dark circle I've still got going on there. Now that I've blended this stuff around, because I've put a really light layer on it. If you look back here, my dark circles are not super distracting right now. Some people like to use a blush under them if you've got some orange in there. So I use a blush that has some orange in it, because what you're seeing in the dark circle is blue. So a lot of people use Mango Highlight, which is nice. Or other people use Frenchy Lip and Cheek. I barely touched it. And I usually use my finger to just put it in the most distracting spots. I don't put it all, like, can you see that I'm barely using any of it? My spot right there is honestly more green than it is blue. So sometimes I use a demi color corrector that has pink in it. But, okay. There we go. So now that I have that on there, I'm gonna take my lighter coverage brush, so the small side of the fluffy brush. I'm gonna lightly tap in that bright color, or you could do your main color. So if it shows texture, you'd rather go back to your main color. If it's too light, it's gonna accentuate texture. So you can look and see, do I have a lot of texture once that's pressed in there? I'm just gonna lightly dust that over the top of it. And again, it's better to use the darker color and not get as much of a pop, but not show texture. Lightly covering that. The darker colors are gonna last all day. So if you use your main shade, it's gonna last better. And if that's where you want the coverage, then that's what you wanna do. I wish you feel how lightly I'm tapping into that. Okay, now we're gonna go to our lip and cheek colors. See which one I wanna grab. Summer Love will be fine. So Summer Love is a more glossy one. So I'm just gonna tap that on with my finger right where I want it. Right above that contour line. So we're making like Neapolitan ice cream. We're gonna have chocolate, strawberry, and then we're gonna put some illuminator up there and have some vanilla. Okay, so once I have it on there, I try to scoot back so I can really see like what it's gonna look like. Because up close, I'm like, oh, that's a pretty color. Far away, it gets washed out. So I'm gonna leave that sitting there for just a second while I go and use some lip liner. You could also line your lips with the contour color. Again, shadow is a nice one for that. But I use this lip liner. I usually use my Red Aspen. It's called just Red Aspen lip pencil. Cherrywood is my favorite. I like a lot of them, but Cherrywood's my favorite. Okay, so once I have some lip liner, personally, so I'm just letting that set to warm up to the temperature of my skin because it's gonna blend more easily that way. Throwing on a stain, because that'll last all day. Now, let's blend that in, and we'll jump to our illuminator. So I'm using that. This is the blush bronzer brush, so I'm using it to apply my blush, so I'm tapping on there. At this point, I would check and see if there's anywhere that like if I have any big pimples or something like that. I'm looking for spots that I want to add extra coverage to before I start pressing my makeup in with a sponge or anything else. So I might go back and like hit those. Again, you can use your finger or a really small brush. I would use the small end of the multitasker, and I would just hit those if I wanted a tiny bit more coverage. I like to use June to do that, or Wheat if you have it. I mean, honestly, it's not too big of a problem. I just hit it and I tap them in, just to make sure I got the coverage that I wanted on those. Got our Summer Love in. Let's grab some illuminator. And sorry, it's taking a minute. I'm gonna grab Angel. Where is Angel? Oh, no, I'm not. I'm gonna grab Rose Gold. Angel has a little more pink under it. I'm gonna tap that. See where it's going? On the high points of my cheekbones, and I can feel the bones, so I know I'm in the right spot. Also gonna tap it here. The center of my lip. It's gonna make it look way bigger. Way bigger. And then inner corners of my eyes. Basically the same places that we brightened earlier, because that's the point. Brightening and illuminating, we're doing where we want the attention drawn. There we go. Everything after that is gonna be eyeshadows. You can press this in with a damp sponge, but looking up close, that's it.